This one is going to be the truth from the inside. The true raw emotional part that none of the plaintiff side has had to feel because it wasn't happening to any of them. In April 2016, we were at the office when Jerry received a registered letter from the city of Palestine. It was very thick and in a big yellow envelope. It was strange because it wasn't exactly a letter. The papers and the wording were written in the context that it was a court document. At the time, it seemed very hard to take seriously because in the form of a lawsuit, 10 pieces of property were listed, and on all 10 properties the same violations were listed. We knew that couldn't be correct. Some of the pieces of property were just vacant lots with absolutely nothing on them. It didn't make much sense. It seemed ludicrous that they would send multiple violations for multiple properties and only give you 10 days, about 1.5 weeks, to bring all of them into compliance. After Jerry spoke to the city ordinance enforcement, they made it clear that if the property wasn't brought into compliance according to the paperwork, they were filing a lawsuit. What made the least amount of sense was that he had already been to municipal court and the case had been found in his favor. It was surreal. To clear up the confusion, Jerry asked to meet with the city officials. 1 month later, in May of 2016, Jerry met with then city manager/police chief Mike Alexander, ordinance officer Patsy Smith, city building inspector Mark Mears, and development/zoning Jeffrey Lyons. Unbeknownst to Jerry, this meeting was recorded by Patsy Smith on her bodycam. Video can be found on the website. After that meeting, neither side agreed to any type of consideration or compromise. City manager Mike Alexander just repeated over and over that he was going to do what he was going to do, boasted he had done it in other places, etc. Palestine isn't Dallas or Austin. Palestine is not the kind of city where you have a staff attorney on salary and has a set of parameters within which they work outside of city council votes. They are strong mayor-run cities, a totally different kind of government. Jerry and I began to do research and try to find out what was really going on. I had been on a city council before and part of the ordinance writing committee. With that background, I began to look through all the city council meetings going back to 2014. I knew that since the city of Palestine was not a general law municipality and functioned under a home ruling corporation with a city charter, that not one individual would have the authority to start a lawsuit without the vote from the city council. That research showed that not one time in the past 2 years had Jerry Laza or Palestine Saw Lawn ever been up before city council or on any city council agenda for consideration or discussion. On June 9th of 2016, the City of Palestine versus Jerry Laza was formally filed. The lawsuit was served Jerry Laza at his business. On June 22nd, Jerry sent an email to all the city council members. This email was the first notice they received letting them know they were suing him. He also requested to be put on the agenda for the Monday, June 27th city council meeting. Jerry also took his 5 minutes to speak with the city council at that Monday meeting. Here is where things start to really go wrong. The city council, now bound by an active civil lawsuit and represented by an attorney, can no longer speak directly to Jerry. All communication from this point on has to go through the attorney that filed the suit, Ron Stutz. This is where the big trouble starts. According to members of the city council that are no longer there, Ron Stutz, in the closed session, told the members that he would have this lawsuit tried and done for $25,000. While that conversation is said to have happened in closed session of the June 27, 2016 city council meeting, no vote in open session or discussion or approval including a budget amendment to allow the lawsuit was ever made, and to this date has ever been made or approved by the governing body. So, early on, you can imagine that both Jerry and I were in shock, left with no choice but to hire an attorney and hope that the court can sort this out. Wiser now, but little did we know that civil court does not work the way you see it on television. The last 7 years have been a nightmare. Just one unbelievable act after another, leaving a wake of devastation that seems to concern no one. You really must ask yourself every day if you are still living in America where freedom and rights matter. The answer keeps coming up: no. For 6 months after the suit was filed, the city representative, Ron Stutz, negotiated to exchange properties with Jerry Laza. They wanted the 4 acres that he owns off of Oak Street, near downtown Palestine. Start with the obvious. It was never about health and safety. It was never about lawnmowers. It was never about being out of compliance. So, it just leaves you scratching your head trying to, still after 7 years, figure out what it was really about. What we do know. The rules for a home rule municipal government with a strong city council outside of the city budget and day-to-day running the city business, the city manager does not have the power to file a civil lawsuit or authority to sue anyone, except Palestine, Texas. Nowhere in any city, county, or state would a contract employee have the power or authority to file a lawsuit without permission from his employer or being hired to represent, except Palestine, Texas. All home rule cities get their powers from their city charters and only the powers that have been adopted from the state codes. City of Palestine has never adopted the ability to sue for health and safety from the Texas local government code into their city charter. City of Palestine was allowed to do it anyway. I'm sure you are thinking with the information above how the city of Palestine went to court and won an injunction and settlement, how they were ever even a damaged party in a civil suit. How did Jerry Laza damage the city of Palestine? It is mind-blowing and something that we still can't understand. The number one question that I am asked is why he didn't just comply. Well, he tried, and everything that would have brought him into compliance with the city charter zoning was denied by the city of Palestine as being unacceptable. The city never tried to work anything out before the lawsuit was filed and then wouldn't accept anything after the filing. When you are sued in civil court, you have one of 2 options. The first option is to not respond, and the plaintiff wins by default 100% of what they claim, period. Second option, you defend yourself. Jerry Laza defended himself and lost everything in the battle. This is part 1 of a multi-part story that is going to walk you through the nightmare of defending yourself against a tyrannical government entity with more money and power.